All right, let's break this sales letter down. This is by Gary Bencivenga, one of the top copywriters of all time. And by breaking down the sales letter, we're going to learn some key lessons we can apply to our sales letters and email copy, as well as positioning our brand. So let's start. You are cordially invited to join the tiny handful of Americans who can enjoy rare, fresh pressed olive oil all year long. These oils are outrageously, insanely bright and flavorful, the best tasting olive oils in the world, but you won't find them in your supermarket or gourmet store. Here's why and how you can reserve your own private supply shipped direct to your door. So let's just start with this. I would call this the lead or the hook. This is like the above the fold area with a little bit more. So one of the key themes I'm seeing here is exclusivity, right? This is the main angle he's taking other than the quality of the product. He's saying these oils are the best tasting in the world, but you can't get them other than right here. So the power of this is that if somebody loves olive oil, which, makes sense if they're on this page or they're seeing this ad, if somebody loves olive oil, then they're going to want the really good stuff, right? So that's kind of the first part of this. But that on its own isn't that powerful without the second part, which is the exclusivity. So he mentions it in the headline, the tiny handful of Americans, right? So this is already calling out like this isn't for everyone. Not that many people have access to you. And it's not that you can buy, you're cordially invited. So this is very much a highbrow approach, if you want to call it that. He's saying, look, you're a certain type of person who wants the very best, and also you're the kind of person who wants to be consuming things or enjoying things that most people don't have access to, right? You're the kind of person that might go to Italy on a trip and, spend a few weeks in a lesser known city. You're the kind of person that's going to go to Eat Italy or Italy rather in Chicago or New York, but you might even kind of scoff and be like, "Oh, this is so commercialized. Like I've been to some of these places in person and this is so overpriced." So it's kind of an elitist thing. And I'm not throwing shade. Like, shit, I want this fucking olive oil. This sounds delicious. We're just trying to identify what he's using and why it's so effective here. And the rest of this we'll go through as well. But, the very beginning of the ad, this is the most important part by far. So, again, rare fresh pressed olive oil is like the benefit they're getting. The frame is that you're being cordially invited to join this club of a tiny handful of Americans who can enjoy it all year long. And then he's going again with like the quality of the oil, best tasting in the world, but you won't find them in your supermarket or gourmet store. And then he's telling you, here's why you should keep reading. Even if you're skeptical at this point of like, okay, I can't find these at like my local version of Whole Foods that's super bougie. You don't think I can find these at my Italian gourmet store? Like, yeah, right, buddy. But even if you have that skepticism, you might keep reading because he's saying, hey, here's why. Um, this is my favorite part of the ad because every word matters in the beginning of the ad or sales message. Don't get me wrong, all the words down here matter, but literally every word matters. Here's why these two words have a massive amount of impact. And you know that space is at a premium up here. There's only so much space you can have for the beginning without it getting overcrowded and unreadable. Um, and then he goes right into setting you up for action, which I love. He's saying this is, what they call assuming the sale, which is a pretty basic technique, but it's always good to use. How you can reserve your own private supply. So he's not even saying like, here's how you can learn more. He's saying and ending with, this is how you can get your own supply like right now. So he's going right for the sale. This isn't pussyfooting around. Okay. Let's go to this little authority thing because I think this matters. TJ Robinson, aka the olive oil hunter with a trademark in this bitch, is one of the world's most respected authorities on all matters olive oil. He's one of the few Americans to be invited to serve as a judge in prestigious Italian olive oil tasting competitions. When it comes to evaluating olive oils, he has been described as having a platinum palate. So this is kind of like, this is a really big part of any sales message. He's making a big promise here, right? Gary, not this olive oil guy, not TJ. He's making a big promise here that this is some of the best olive oil, not even some of this is the best tasting olive oil in the world. Like, and you can't find it anywhere else. That's a really big claim to make. And this is something I see a lot of the best copywriters and marketers do. They make a really big promise at the beginning and then they back it up immediately, either with something like this, which is an authority backup, or with a testimonial right below the fold. So this is like, unless you completely believe this is bullshit, and you can always just Google this in today's day and age. So unless they're completely lying about this, which I doubt, like this is a massive piece of proof. So these Americans, right? And this also plays into the identity stuff because I know this. I've lived in Italy for short periods of time. I've visited a decent amount, and I fucking love Italian food, right? I see myself as an Italian living in America. And that's how these people are going to see themselves. And that's why they respect this proof. He is one of the few Americans to be invited to serve as a judge in prestigious Italian olive oil tasting competitions. So this guy, he's like the bridge. He's like you. He's like, hey, I'm like you, but this is my super defined niche. I fucking love olive oil. I drink it every day, you know. He tastes it every day. And he's been recognized by the OGs of olive oil, these Italian olive oil tasting competitions, as having a platinum palate. So you see how this all plays into identity and to who's buying. So, and this is all just in the beginning. This is all the setup. And what's important to understand is that this describes not only the hook, but this is kind of the big marketing idea. This is the idea that is your central narrative on why you would want to join this. And if your sales message doesn't have this at the very beginning, you're really missing out on a lot of money. The central marketing idea of this is that you can be part of an exclusive club of other people with exquisite taste, just like you, who only want the best, who want the very freshest, most gourmet stuff you can find. And another guy just like you, but just way more advanced in this field, maybe you're a marketer or some real estate person, you're a doctor, you're doing whatever your thing. You kind of look at this guy as like, hey, in another life, I could have been him, right? And this is very self-centered from that point of view, but like that's how the best marketing is. It's all about the person reading this, and everything is designed in that context. It even goes in this first line. Again, like, this is who they are. Dear olive oil aficionado. And this goes also into this lesson about what makes good marketing. Good marketing recognizes that you're not selling to everyone. You're selling to a very, very specific person. And how many people are olive oil aficionados? Like, really? How many people in America would describe themselves as foodies? And then beyond that, how many people really care about their olive oil? I mean, I'm a foodie. I love going to new restaurants. I love traveling for food. But I usually just get the best stuff I can at whatever grocery store I'm shopping at. So I don't even know if I'm necessarily this olive oil aficionado. It's even more specific than that. This is somebody who has the disposable income and the desire to invest in the very best shit they can get. This is not a super price sensitive person. He hasn't mentioned anything about price in this, right? Because if you mention something about price, that would be going against the main message of this, which is that it's exclusive and elite and the best in the world. If you had something about like, oh, you can get 2 bottles for the price of 1 or 3 bottles for the price of 2 up here in the beginning of this, that would completely send a false signal and it would invalidate these other claims. So you see, it's also about consistency here in this messaging. That's a really big part of it. Okay, so let's go into this like first paragraph or two. We'll just go into everything before join the club. Dear olive oil aficionado, a major olive oil opportunity is at hand, but if you're interested, you must act quickly. As I tell all my foodie friends, again, foodies, self-identified, olive oil, unlike wine, does not improve with time, just the opposite. It's at its peak of delicious perfection immediately after it's pressed. This is why the locals in the olive growing regions of Italy, Spain, Greece, and other Mediterranean countries go crazy, as do I, over fresh pressed oil. They joyously throw harvest parties to celebrate its arrival, its vibrant, youthful bloom of heavenly taste and extraordinary health benefits. These marvelous qualities start to fade within 3 to 6 months after bottling, and this is true of all olive oil, which is why fresh pressed oil is superior to any other olive oil you ever taste. Okay, so right at the very beginning of this, he's setting up you for action. There's an opportunity. I fucking love this. A major olive oil opportunity. Kind of ridiculous, but it works. But if you're interested, you must act quickly. There's urgency here. And here's why he's like setting you up for why his olive oil is the best. It's because it's the freshest. Why is it the best tasting? It's because it's the freshest. And again, he's comparing you to being like, hey, don't you want to be a local in one of these Western European Mediterranean countries where they love olive oil? And he's saying like, hey, within the 3 to 6 months, no matter how good it is, this olive oil won't taste as good, which is why the fresh press stuff, why my stuff is the best. And then he goes in the problem. I'll kind of summarize this. Big problem in America. We only get a precious trickle of fresh stuff. And then almost all of it, by the time it gets here, it's already been a year. It languishes for months. Most of them, you don't even know how fresh they are. There's not a best used by date, or there's not a production date. So he's basically saying that, like, even if you think you're getting the best stuff here in America, you're not. And so it's kind of just like reinforcing this idea in marketing, which is like, if they care about this and they want to buy, you have to say that you're the only place they can get this. You are the only solution. And so if they want to buy, they need to buy from you. And he's kind of saying, like, maybe you'll find that there's another fresh press place. Maybe that's a thing. I'm sure it is. But obviously you can never fully lock it down unless you have a monopoly on something to say that literally you can only get it here. But that's the case he's building up. And he's also kind of like taking shots at the competition and saying, no matter how fancy and pretty they are, they have faded and dulled flavors, maybe even rancid flavors, because it's been so long. And then you have the call to action. And there's so much more here. We can go into it more. But honestly, this is the most important part. So let's look at this. Downright unfair, why not fresh olive oil? This is his like origin story, which is just kind of like, if you're interested in this, you're like, hey, let's just keep on going. Again, the origin story. Kind of going into the story of this business. And just going, now he's getting like more of the stuff around the product, and then there's some testimonials. And I love this pricing that's quarterly. Because again, you don't want it to be too low of price. Like, even someone who is an exclusive foodie kind of person, everyone is somewhat price sensitive, right? Even very, very wealthy people that throw money around, unless they're just like, there's some areas where people don't care about money, but like at a certain point, even if T-Pain or fucking Drake, very different scale there, walk into a club, if the guy was like, hey, yeah, it'll be 50 million for this bottle, they'd be like, no, fuck you. Like, at some point, if you make the price high enough, everyone is price sensitive. So I like that they do the quarterly pricing here, and that they don't charge you for shipping and handling, because it allows them to have a higher price, which works out to, like, you know, seeming more exclusive. But it also, like, they're not, you know, nickel and diming you, which isn't an exclusive VIP feeling. and you're paying like what, like 40, all over $40 a month for 16 ounces of oil, which is pretty expensive, but it makes sense given this. But it's not so expensive, right? It's not like it's $100. It's not 350 per quarter. So the pricing is also a really big part of your overall message. Um, oh, it's three of these. Okay, yeah, it's one per month. Yeah, you can also get like at a much worse value. You get these like smaller ones, and I think they just give you this to give you like really this is just illusion of choice in in my mind. They give you this excellent value option to make option one seem like a better deal because it is a way better deal. Like this option, if you're using this pricing, should cost $200 per quarter, but it's only $139. So I think this is one of those false choices where they don't actually care which one you take. I mean, obviously they want the most money. Maybe this is actually more profit, who knows? But really, I view this option two as just a price framing, which is a very powerful technique for option one. Um, Kind of just like risk reversal stuff. You can cancel anytime. Happy drizzling. And I love this PS. I really don't think this is like so, excuse me, so important to delivery. Like, I'm sure this is something they could just put in the email. The reason he puts this here is it's about the freshness, right? Overnight, this is all just like a ploy to be able to talk about overnight shipping companies, your phone number. This is like him saying, yo, we're getting this to you so fast. This is the best stuff out there. We're getting it to you overnight. This is all reinforcing that main story. It's the freshest stuff. You're getting it super fast. This is really exclusive. The shipping isn't normal. We need your exact address. All this plays into that main selling idea, and it has consistency. So I hope that you can use some of these techniques we've talked about in your own marketing. And I'll be back here soon with another sales message for us to break down.